Everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at October today. We're going to do a bit of an October look ahead. We've just got the update from the JMA model. It updates every Friday, and it's just updated in the last few minutes, so have a look at that. Also have a look at the CFS model, see what that is predicting from the United States going out over the next few weeks. Before I go on with that, though, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's green keyword ads on my pages. If you write your cursor over the green keywords, they display ads. When you click through the word, go to the advertise website. Just support gasweatherviz.com by doing that. So it's IPCC day today. It's the fifth assessment from the UN's panel on climate change, and you'll be hearing a lot about it in the papers and on the news over the next few hours, I'm quite sure. I'm going to pass no comment other than to say GasWeatherVids will remain a climate change free zone, because the whole thing is above my pay grade, and to be honest, I'd like to keep the website away from the whole debate. It can get very heated, very passionate arguments on both sides, perhaps a bit too passionate really for what should be simply a scientific sort of debate, but yeah, I like to keep the website away from all of that. So we're just going to simply look at October in today's video, and we're going to start off with the JMA model. These are 500 high anomalies broken down into weekly period. This first weekly period will be taking us from the 27th of September to the 3rd of October. The yellow colours are indicating where we've got the above average heights, yellow and orange colours, so they extrapolate to high pressure. The blue colours are indicating where we've got below average heights, and these extrapolate to low pressure. And what we're seeing is that the JMA model for the next week is predicting quite a big area of high pressure to be blocking to the north and the northeast of the British Isles, with a trough of low pressure in the Atlantic moving up from the southwest. We've also got this trough of low pressure across eastern parts of Europe and extending into central and western Russia. I spoke about that yesterday. That's producing a lot of very early cold weather across central and western parts of Russia coming into the east of Europe. But the setup with this, it's a very peculiar sort of setup, and it's really producing quite warm southeasterly or southerly flows across the British Isles. So despite the fact it's probably going to be turning increasingly unsettled with that trough of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, it's also going to tend to be quite warm, I think, over the next week, although perhaps later on next week those temperatures will drop back a little bit towards nearer north. But warm and sort of unsettled conditions, I think, for the next week. And the south and southwest could actually be really quite wet at times with that area of low pressure. Moving through to the second week period, which takes us from the 4th to the 10th of October. And the idea is that we've still got this blocking area of high pressure sitting to the north, so it's not really seeing much sign of an end to the blocking, although it's perhaps more centred around Greenland as opposed to Scandinavia. And we've got this area of high pressure building to the south of British Isles, well above average heights there. But British Isles itself is under low pressure, quite a weak area of low pressure. It's not as big or as intense as the trough that's coming up in the next week, but nevertheless that's probably enough to keep it quite unsettled, and that's quite a complicated sort of pattern really. I think what we're probably looking at with that is that we've got more of a westerly flow probably coming in with that low pressure to the northwest of Scotland and the high pressure to the south, so perhaps more nearer normal conditions, not as wet perhaps as the first week of October, but temperatures probably a little bit down, perhaps back to where they should be, as opposed to being quite warm. And then go through to the final period, which is a 2-weekly period, taking us from the 11th to the 25th of October. And then what we're looking at is that we're losing the heights across Greenland, and things are reverting to nearer normal, but we have got this trough of low pressure to the southwest of the country through the mid-Atlantic. So that could be bringing unsettled conditions up at times to the south and the west of the country in particular. But to be honest, there's not a great deal to go on with that 500 millibar high dominant. And this is what you tend to see from the JMA model, that the first 2 weeks are quite easy to predict because the signal is quite strong. The second 2-week period tends to be quite difficult to pin down because the signal becomes much weaker. But I think potentially that's near normal sort of temperatures, and maybe unsettled with that trough of low pressure coming into the south and the southwest at times. Now the next model we're going to look at is the CFS model, and these are city forecasts, city temperature forecasts from the CFS model. This is from a website weatherweb.net. it's in a grass sort of form, and what we're looking at first of all is that we're going to have quite warm weather going out through the first week or so of October. This is October the 1st, just here. So temperature's going to hold up quite nice, I think, through the first week of October. That looks pretty good. It ties in with the JMA model and also the generic models that we've got, the short range models. I think we're going to have quite a warmish week next week, albeit quite unsettled. Then as we get to around, say, the 7th or 8th of October, we're going to see a bit of a slide down going on. Temperatures dropping down around the average. This is for Birmingham, and it's indicating temperatures will drop down from around 18 to 20 degrees, which is quite warm, to around, say, 15 or 14 degrees, which is about the early October average. So a bit of a slide down going on at the end of the first week of October to near normal conditions. And then sort of we stay around near normal conditions then for the rest of October, to be honest. So no real change there, no particular slide down, no particular movement upwards. We stay around the October average going out, say around the 25th or 26th of October, and then it sees another quite big plunge in temperatures around the 27th of October, going into single figures then, right at the end of the month, becoming really quite cold, and there could be some frost then coming up. That does indicate temperatures going below freezing by night as we get through to the end of October. So our first sort of cold snap could be in the final week or so of October. And then it is indicating a bit of a rise in temperatures going on then as we go through the first week of November. That's quite interesting, but it's seeing that we do pick temperatures back up again as we go into the first week of November. So for the precipitation forecast for October, and these are quite useful, pinning down where the areas of high pressure and low pressure are forming, for the first week of October, taking us up to the 3rd of October, the first weekly period of the forecast, I should say, taking us up to the 3rd of October. Seeing quite a wet spell coming up, particularly for England and Wales. Low pressure will be quite dominant there. The high pressure is away to the east and the northeast. That's pretty good. We know that's right from the JMA model. We think that's right from the JMA model. Of course, it's a forecast, so we can't know for certain, but it looks pretty good, I think. It will be quite an unsettled week next week, particularly down to the south and the southwest, but also temperatures will hold up quite nicely. Now the next weekly period, taking us through to the 10th of October, shows that it's still quite unsettled actually, and things are probably reverting more to a westerly sort of pattern then. So the high pressure is more in the Atlantic. We've got low pressure around British Isles and up to the north west of the British Isles. And we're losing that high pressure a little bit to the east. That's beginning to slide backwards. So everything is being pushed through from the west. That's the reason we get that temperature drop at the end of the first week of October, because the westerly is beginning to push things through, and we lose that quite warm southerly or southeasterly flow. Again, that looks quite good. It does tie in with the JMA model. And then going through to the 17th of October, then it's seeing high pressure building in from the south of the country in towards the southeast. So we could go into a drier phase, particularly for England and Wales around the middle of October. The low pressure is out into the northwest. That high pressure could bring quite a lot of fog with it if that did occur. Moving in off the continent, you would expect some really foggy nights around the middle of the month. And then that's sort of how we go into the next week period, the 24th of October. We've got the low pressure up to the northwest. The high pressure is down to the south. So again, southern areas driest, northwestern parts of the country wettest. And again, there could be quite a lot of fog associated with that in the south. Temperatures, though, would be near normal, could be chilly by night. And then as we go through to the very end of October, then we start seeing things turning much more unsettled, and particularly in the east of the country, interestingly, and the southeast that's unsettled, with the high pressure seemingly moving out into the Atlantic and going up to the northwest of the country. So we're probably looking at northerly or northeasterly flows with that, and that's why I think we get that drop in temperatures at the end of October that we saw on the city grass for Birmingham, the first frosts of the month coming up with that, and that is plausible from this because the high pressure going to the northwest, low pressure down to the southeast. We've got northerly and northeasterly flow, which would be cold. And then finally going through to the first week of November, remember it's the city grass saw the temperatures picking up through the first week of November, but it turns very, very unsettled with that really, really wet. Look at that, we're in those deep blue colours there, indicating well above average rainfall. So despite temperatures picking up a bit through the first week of November, it turns really unsettled and would be quite a washout. So there's a lot going on there, a lot to think about. These are experimental models, but if they're right, we're looking at quite a warm and unsettled first week to October. Then temperatures probably slide down nearer to normal through the middle phases of the month, middle 2 weeks. And it probably turns a little bit more unsettled in the northwest, and probably turns a bit drier in the south, to be honest. It may become drier, but with quite a bit of fog across England and Wales. And then at the end of October, the last week, we could be looking at our first sort of cold snap of the month, maybe bring down some northerly winds and getting the first proper frost. So, a lot to discuss and think about there. Of course, very experimental. Don't take it too seriously. It's all just a bit of fun for a Friday. But lot to think about. It's weekend forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. And next week I'll be doing the official October forecast. So that's one to keep an eye on as well. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.